My future was decided for me when I was 12 years old. I went to a carnival and I saw a man, Mr. Electrico, sitting in an electric chair, being electrocuted. And I stood below the platform and he reached down with a flaming sword full of electricity and he pointed at me and said, "Live forever." And I said, "God, that's wonderful. How do you do that?" So the next day I had to go to a funeral of my favorite uncle. And on the way back from the graveyard, I looked down at the seafront. I saw the carnival banners. I said, "Mr. Electrico is waiting for me down there. I've got to run away from death and run toward life." So I ran away from the graveyard. I ran down the hill. And by God, Mr. Electrico was sitting outside the carnival tent waiting for me, it seemed. And I ran up to him. I didn't know what to say. I had a magic trick in my hand, my pocket, and I handed it out to Mr. Electrico. I said, "Can you teach me how to do this?" So he took the trick and showed me how to do it. And then he looked in my face and he said, "Would you like to meet some of those strange people over there in that tent?" I said, "Yes, I would." He said, "Come on." So he went over the tent and he hit it with his cane and he said, "Clean up your language." And he took me in, and the first person I met was the illustrated man. The next day I started to write, and I've been writing for 70 years because of that encounter with Mr. Electrico, which said, "Live forever." Now I've got a chance to do it. And with my books, they're going to be around for the next 10 years, the next 100 years, and God knows, maybe on the planet Mars too.
Ray Douglas Bradbury was born August 22, 1920 in Waukegan, Illinois. He had a pretty ideal childhood despite the fact that he lost two siblings when they were very young. His parents, Leonard Spalding Bradbury and Esther Moberg Bradbury, were middle-class workers who worked hard for their family. But because of the Great Depression, the family lost the majority of their money. Because of the money loss, the Bradbury family had to move between Waukegan, Illinois and Tucson, Arizona multiple times. Ray visited numerous carnivals growing up. An encounter with a magician at a carnival is the reason why Ray even started writing. Ray loved to visit the local library and read science fiction, fantasy, and horror books. He enjoyed the works of Edgar Allan Poe and Edgar Rice Burroughs. Bradbury even wrote his own sequel to Burroughs' The Warlord of Mars. Because of the Great Depression, Ray did all this and more on nothing but butcher paper he found lying around. Moving to Los Angeles was a dream come true for Bradbury. He aspired to be an actor and even became friends with Hollywood celebrities as he would rollerblade around town. Bradbury got his first paying job as a writer when his good friend George Burns included one of his jokes on The Burns and Allen Show. When Bradbury was done with his high school career, he could not move on to college. Not only was it because of the Great Depression, but he didn't believe in college. He instead self-taught himself by going to the library 3 times a week for 10 years. He started his own fan magazine and even sold newspapers to pass the time by. When Bradbury was about 22, he started to take his writing career more seriously. He got help from many greats such as Robert Heinlein and Lee Brackett. Bradbury met Maggie McClure in 1946 at a bookstore she worked at. She was the only girl he ever asked out, and by September of 1947, they were married. They had 4 daughters together: Susan, Ramona, Bettina, and Alexandra. Ray Bradbury spent countless hours on his typewriter. He would often bike around Los Angeles because he never got his driver's license. Bradbury was an avid collector and even had a room dedicated to his hometown of Waukegan. Ray Bradbury is a very well-known writer and is constantly recognized for his short stories, novels, and plays. He is responsible for writing over 600 pieces of work. Fahrenheit 451 is a dystopian science fiction book that is set in the way future. It focuses on Guy Montag, a fireman in charge of burning books. The advancement in technology and censorship by the government are getting out of hand and are ultimately the reason for the futuristic American city to blow up. Fahrenheit 451 is Bradbury's most recognized, well-known piece of work. It was also turned into a movie. It is based on when Hitler would burn books during World War II and how the government decided everything. Something Wicked This Way Comes is a horror fantasy fiction book following Will Holloway and Jim Nightshade. They are two young boys who embark on a wild journey when a wicked carnival comes to town. The boys encounter carnival freaks ranging from an illustrated man, a witch, an evil ringmaster who's in charge of the madness, to carnival rides that change your age or make you look young again. The book was even turned into a Disney horror fantasy film. Greentown, the town where all the madness is happening, is based on Bradbury's hometown of Waukegan. One of the carnival freaks, Mr. Electrico, is based on an encounter he had when he was a child. Ray Bradbury was recognized for numerous things. A park in Waukegan is dedicated to him, and he also has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He often gave speeches to thousands and was given a Lifetime Achievement Award for all of the work he has accomplished. George Bush awarded him with the National Medal of Arts as well. Maggie Bradbury is responsible for pushing Ray so hard in his everyday life. Although she died in 2003, Ray continued to write with the help of his daughters. He wrote well into his 90s, even after being restricted to a wheelchair. Ray Bradbury passed away on June 5, 2012 at the age of 91 due to a lengthy illness. His legacy leaves hundreds of notable works, quotes, and memories.